My name is Sarah Otto, and I'm on the pastoral team at Ignatius House. I love how Ignatian contemplation invites you to experience an intimacy with not only Jesus in the Gospels, but with any of the rich characters we encounter in Scripture. The woman with the hemorrhage met me at a time in my life when I desperately needed to believe in myself, and she has been a trusted companion ever since. I firmly believe that God works through our imagination. We don't need all the historically accurate details to enter into a scripture passage in a meaningful way. But one tidbit that I could draw upon from my grad school scripture classes as I entered this passage was the understanding of ritual impurity law, because it revealed for me how bold this woman truly was. According to Jewish law at the time, any kind of blood was considered ritually impure and barred an individual from participating in worship or being in contact with holy objects. Women who were menstruating weren't even allowed to touch their husbands. And this woman, Scripture tells us, had been bleeding for 12 years. Physical illness is isolating enough. When you're in pain, it's hard to focus on anything else. It can be an incredibly isolating experience. So not only was this woman alienated due to her physical condition, she was barred from a sense of community because of what was considered her religious impurity. After a few months of that kind of isolation, I would start to believe that I was worthless, that I would never feel better, that I would never have any positive relationships or experience human touch again. And yet, after 12 years, and so many failed attempts at healing, and being told that she was ritually impure, she rejects all of that when she hears about Jesus. She rejects the voices in her own head as well as in society, and she reaches out and touches Jesus. She's not allowed to touch anyone, and yet she reaches out to touch the Son of God. What incredible boldness. What incredible self-care. We don't have those same laws of ritual impurity like they did back then, but there are plenty of ways we alienate and isolate ourselves and others through insecurities and judgments, loneliness and fears. And so this reading always prompts me to reflect on whether I'm listening to the lies that I tell myself, the lies that the evil spirit wants me to believe, such as you're not good enough, you're not pretty enough, or smart enough. Or do I listen to the voice of love in my heart, the Spirit of God that propels me toward freedom, toward healing, toward courage, toward the desire to reach out and touch Jesus and be in community with others? And do I listen to my body? Stress can wreak havoc on our bodies, suppressing our emotions, our immune system, and causing us to be disconnected even from ourselves. But she listened to her body, listened to where it was leading her, and felt the healing when it happened. Her body was a locus for an encounter with the divine. I was reflecting recently how all 7 sacraments, or at least the categories those sacraments fall into, could be understood in this one story, in this one woman. The sacraments of initiation, which lay a foundation for our Christian life and welcome us into the community. She welcomed herself back into community after years of isolation, and found an intimacy with Christ's body as we experience with the Eucharist. The sacraments of healing, she told the whole truth and received not only physical, but spiritual healing. And the sacraments of service. Although Scripture doesn't say it, undoubtedly her experience of transformative love propelled her to go out and share that love with others, as we're all called to do. Her own body held both a sacramental encounter with God and became a sacrament for others. Go in peace, Jesus told her. Just imagine how she might have carried that peace to others. St. Ignatius wanted people to see themselves as collaborators with God, to use the gifts God had given them in order to continue God's loving work in the world. But that takes a sense of confidence and trust in yourself. What could you do if you believed in yourself and allowed the love of God to work through you? I invite you to imagine Jesus' gaze today. Imagine Jesus saying to you, daughter, son, your faith has saved you. How might that help you see your own life these days differently? It might help you see the ways you already are allowing God to work through you. Or perhaps it might prompt you to reach out more to Jesus in the areas you need healing in order to better serve.